So how much money do you really need to start investing in the stock market? A lot? A little? Is there any rules or limits to this? That's what we'll be discussing in this week's video. Let's go! So the first thing you need to know, there aren't any specific limits. You can invest as little or as much as you want. So sometimes specific trading accounts will want you to open up a specific account just to use for your trading money. Now with those, sometimes they'll ask for a minimum amount to be put into that account, but other than that, there are no limits. Other trading accounts will allow you to use your regular bank account to trade through. So you just link your regular bank account to the trading transaction account, and when you make a trade, either buying or selling, it'll take the money out of your regular bank account or deposit money if you've sold. But for the actual stock exchange, there isn't a limit. You could buy one share, you could buy 367 shares. It doesn't matter. It's just up to you and how much you want to invest. But even though there are no specific limits, there are things that you need to be aware of. So the main consideration is how much it actually costs to make a trade. That's called brokerage, and brokerage is the cost it is to either buy or sell. It's kind of like the fee for making the transaction. So brokerage costs vary from broker to broker, and also how much money you're actually investing. So in the US, the average brokerage fees is around $5 to $8, and in Australia, it's much more expensive. It's around $20 to $30 per transaction. And that's only up to about $10,000. So over that, you'll be charged more. So factoring brokerage in is one thing to keep in mind when you're considering how much to put into the market, but it's not the only thing. So the reason most people ask this question is because they want to know the absolute minimum they need if they want to start investing. It can be really scary to start, and if you are required to have, say, $10,000, that can be a big burden for some people. So what is the absolute minimum amount that you'd want to invest in the stock market? Well, it could be as simple as just $5. Well, not directly, obviously, because brokerage costs would just wipe that out. But you can invest $5 in any of the micro investing apps out there. So that's like Acorns in the US or Raise in Australia. Now, I'm not affiliated with any of these. I have used Raise back when it was called Acorns and is now called Raise. And I still got some money in there, but it's not my primary form of investing. But it's a super simple way to get started and get a feel for what it's like, and just start with such a low amount of money. So how those sort of micro investing apps work is that they will take your contribution, and then they will pool that with everybody else's contribution, and they're usually investing in exchange traded funds or something like that. You don't pay brokerage costs, but you will be charged a fee. Now the fees can get quite expensive, and if you've got a low balance, sometimes it's just not worth it. So if you've got anything under $500, I would say that the fees might negate any profits you get, and it's probably not worth it for less than $500. So even though you can get started for $5, you got to consider that the fees that you'll be charged may actually not be worth it unless you get a balance over about $500. But if you use the roundup features or the regular contribution features that they have built into those apps, you'll probably be able to get up to that $500 limit pretty quickly anyway. But of course, I primarily invest directly into the market. So what is the minimum for investing directly into the stock market? Now the reason I invest directly is because one, it's far more fun, and two, you have more control over which companies you want to invest in. So if you're in the US, $500 is probably a good base minimum amount because of the brokerage fees. In Australia, because brokerage is much more expensive, I wouldn't start with anything less than $1,000, and probably $2,000 is where I would think is a good place to start, because that way then brokerage fees is only about 1% of your transaction costs. Okay, so let's say that you do have $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever you want to invest. Let's say that you have that money. What next? Firstly, you'll need a trading account. So if you don't have one already, just go and do some research on some of the bigger online trading companies in your country. In the US, that's likely to be something like Fidelity or TD Ameritrade. And in Australia, you're probably looking at CommSec or NAB Trade or E-Trade. What you're looking for is how much brokerage costs are and how easy it is to transact through them, like getting your money in and out. Do they want you to open up a separate trading account, or are you able to link that to your regular banking account? So just follow the instructions. It's just basically like opening any account. They'll want your name, address, sometimes identification, and so on. Next, obviously, is deciding how much you want to invest. So let's say you want to invest $1,000. and you're ready to invest. What next? Obviously, the next step is deciding which company you want to buy. So here's where you do a bit of research, and now that you have a trading account, you'll find that the research tools are usually pretty good in those online trading accounts, that you can go in and find any information about any company. Next, you'll need to decide whether you're investing for growth or income. Now, growth obviously is what you're probably most familiar with, where you buy a company at one price, hope the price increases over time, and then you'll sell at a later date, making a profit, hopefully. Income is a little different. That's where you're primarily interested in the dividend income and how much money, or the dividend yield, how much you're getting as cash back for investing in that company. Now, I started with growth, but I primarily invest with income now. And if you want my dividend strategy, I've actually got a video on that. I'll link it on the cards above. Plus, I've got a book that just explains the strategy I use as well, if that's useful. Anyway, so you've done your research and you've figure out what company you want to invest in. So now it's actually time to go ahead and actually place that trade. So a typical buy and sell page will look very similar depending on what company you go through. They all have very similar layouts. First, you usually enter the company that you want to buy or sell, and they usually want you to put the stock ticker code in. That's that little 3 or 4 letter code that distinguishes that company. So next thing they want to know is how much of the stock that you want to buy. Now, you can either enter a specific amount, say I want 16 shares in this company, or you can set a monetary limit, say I want $1,000 worth of shares in this company. The next section is the price you want to pay. Now, there are a few options here. Again, you can either set a specific amount, so maybe you want to put the price at a few points lower than it actually is, so that if it drops in price, you'll buy at that price. Or you can choose market value, and then the transaction will happen based on whatever the current price is. Next, you choose your time frame. You can either choose to have that order open just for that day, perhaps a week, or perhaps a month. So if you're choosing a price that's lower than the regular current market price, perhaps you want it open for a week. So if it lowers to that price, it's still open for the whole week. And so if it actually hits that price, the transaction will go through. But if you choose market value, the trade will go through pretty much immediately. If you choose a lower price, it will only go through if someone is willing to sell at the same price that you want to buy at. And that's it. Once somebody is selling at the price that you want to buy at, the transaction goes through and you hold the stock in the company, and you're now a stockholder. So that's it for this video. I hope I've answered the question on how much money you really need to start investing in the stock market. And I've also included some steps on how to go making your first trade, which I also hope that you found useful. Good luck with your investing, and I will see you again next week. Bye.